avoid congregating in groups, to avoid close contact. Let's keep saving lives, and let's avoid a second shutdown and a second hit to our economy. Briefly on the tropical storm, as of 10 a.m. this morning, we're outside the air cone for the storm. So it's tracking outside of our area, and that's good news, is we no longer see a high chance for significant impacts. Of course, things can always change, but the certainty is pretty high with this model that it'll be over in Louisiana. We know these storms can be unpredictable, though. So while the forecasts show that, we still have to continue to stay alert, to watch the news, and always stay abreast. When it comes to any disaster, whether it's COVID-19, a potential hurricane or tropical storm, or any other crisis, I want residents to know that our mantra is to err on the side of preparation and to err on the side of action. We hope for the best, but we plan for the worst. And so we know that disasters aren't giving us the convenience of waiting until after COVID is over. What we're seeing already with Cristobal is that hurricane season won't give us that courtesy of taking off this year just because we're going through other crises. So during hurricane season, we're continually in touch with the National Weather Service. We're in touch with all our partners at local, state, federal to prepare, to plan. We're working to review our plans, to exercise our plans. Over the past year, we've worked with FEMA to be able to deliver better emergency messages to people's cell phones, and to also be able to deliver those in Spanish and with more accurate targeting. We've been planning for any changes to the response that COVID-19 may have on our preparedness. For example, working with the Red Cross on contingency plans for sheltering during COVID-19 if we were to need shelter through some sort of weather event. And of course, our flood mitigation programs continue to move forward at record speeds. We're moving them as quickly as we can possibly do it, faster than ever before. Last year, we tightened detention requirements in Harris County outside the city of Houston as much as legally possible, so folks in Harris County don't flood people downstream as they build. And so we are doing everything we can to prepare, but we still need our residents to do their part. We need you to do your part as well. This is the first named storm in the Gulf this year, and it sounds an alarm in many ways. This should be a reminder that we are now in hurricane season, and now is the time to make plans. If there's one message you take away from today, it is we're doing our part to prepare. Are you? What are you doing, and how can you help us to prepare for this hurricane season? So here's what we need folks to do today. First, an insurance checkup. Now's the time to check with your insurance company. Make sure that you're covered, and make sure that your insurance covers you for flood damage. That is the best way and the only way for families to fully protect themselves financially from flooding, is having an active flood insurance policy. More importantly, new flood insurance policies take 30 days to take effect. So it would be too late if Cristobal hits, but this will help you prepare for the rest of hurricane season, which runs through the end of November. So time is of the essence. If you can afford it, a flood insurance is incredibly important. And every year there are folks who flood, who didn't think they could, thought everybody in this community should have flood insurance. The second thing you can do is to build a kit. Make sure you have supplies, that you have medicine, food. Remember your pets as well, that you have everything you need to be able to take care of yourself, of your family, for 7 to 10 days in the event of a hurricane or an evacuation. And then in terms of evacuation, and this is the final point, is make up an evacuation plan. Figure out if and when, if you had to evacuate, where would you go and how would you get there? You can get more information on this at readyharris.org, and we have all the resources on there. I'll give an opportunity for Jeff Linder to give his remarks, and then I'll repeat my remarks in Spanish and we'll take some questions. Thank you. Jeff Linder, our meteorologist.
Thank you, Judge. And so we'll talk a little bit about Cristobal here. There was some uncertainty the last 48 hours as the system was down over the mainland part of Mexico as to what shape, what form it would come northward, where exactly it would come off the Mexican coast today. It has begun to lift northward, so it is moving to the north, and now the forecast models are in very good agreement that the system will head up towards the south central or even southeast Louisiana coast by late Sunday. And so we do have a tropical storm watch from intercoastal city Louisiana over to the Alabama and Florida state line. So this is well to the east of southeast Texas. As is somewhat common in the Gulf of Mexico this time of year, this is going to be a system where the western side of the storm does not have a lot of activity on it. So a lot of the impacts will be very far off to the east. We're talking the peninsula, Florida, Tampa, maybe even down to Miami, of course, over towards New Orleans and Mobile. And then Houston and southeast Texas will be very far off to the west. And so what impacts we see here over the weekend, specifically in that Sunday, Monday time frame, will be limited to a band or two of rain coming in from the east. Nothing more significant than what we're accustomed to here during a summer thunderstorm. And then down along the coast, the seas will be building. Just anytime you get a storm in the Gulf of Mexico, you're going to get those higher swells that advance toward the coast. And so by Sunday, we could be looking at seas, swells on the beach of the upper Texas coast of 3 to 5 feet, which is going to greatly increase the rip current threat along the upper Texas coast. So be extraordinarily careful down in the waters of the Gulf of Mexico over the weekend. The other artifact of Cristobal moving to our east is we're going to get what we call an offshore wind. That's wind blowing from the land toward the Gulf of Mexico. And that is going to result in some very warm temperatures starting Sunday and going into Monday of Tuesday next week. And so we could see actual high temperatures in the upper 90s, maybe even approaching 100 west of I-45, and afternoon heat index values anywhere from 100 to 110 degrees. And while we're accustomed to heat down here in the summertime, it is early. It's the first time this year that we will be having some of this excessive heat, and so remember the hydration, drink plenty of water, take frequent breaks in the AC if you can, and try not to be outside during those really hot times of the day. So that's between about 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon and about 5 to 6 o'clock in the evening. But as the judge mentioned, this is just the first week of the 6 months of hurricane season. And so we're just right now in the very start of this. This is our first storm this year in the Gulf of Mexico. We are expecting an active season, so the time to prepare is now. The time to build your plan, the time to stock your kit, the time to make sure your insurances are in place is now, and what you're going to do if a storm threatens our area later this year. Judge?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jeff. I'm going to repeat the remarks in Spanish very briefly. Primero es hablar un poco del coronavirus. El día de hoy estamos reportando 227 casos nuevos en el condado Harris fuera de la ciudad de Houston, 4 muertes adicionales. En total han habido ya 13.603 casos entre el condado y la ciudad de Houston y 247 muertes desde que empezó la crisis. Aunque están sucediendo tantas cosas, tantas tragedias en nuestra comunidad, en nuestro mundo, todavía seguimos en medio de esta pandemia. Las últimas 2 semanas hemos estado viendo un incremento significativo, estadísticamente significativo, en el número de admisiones hospitalarias en nuestra área. Y no solo eso, no solamente está creciendo la población de los hospitales, sino que lo está haciendo en una tasa más rápida cada día. Entonces, ese incremento se está acelerando. He dicho ya muchas veces que estoy bastante preocupada por el impacto que pueda haber esta reapertura que se ha llevado a cabo demasiado rápidamente. Para ser claros, Tenemos todavía suficiente capacidad en los hospitales, pero sí es importante observar esta información que estamos viendo. Podríamos decir que se está encendiendo la lucecita amarilla, que ya vemos que los contactos que las personas han estado teniendo las últimas 2, 3 semanas se están viendo reflejadas en los sistemas hospitalarios. Tenemos que seguir viendo esto muy, muy de cerca, a ver hacia dónde nos lleva. Finalmente, el éxito está en manos de ustedes, de todos nosotros. Por favor, mantenga esa responsabilidad personal por su familia, el distanciamiento social, utilice las coberturas faciales, los tapabocas, evite los grupos, evite el contacto cercano con personas con quien usted no viva. Sigamos salvando vidas y de esa manera evitar un nuevo cierre de la economía, un nuevo impacto económico en nuestra comunidad. Eso está en nuestras manos. En cuanto a la tormenta tropical que se acerca, desde ya las 10 de la mañana, el día de hoy, estamos viendo que la tormenta tropical está tomando una trayectoria que por lo general planea evitar nuestra área. No anticipamos impactos significativos. Claro que siempre pueden cambiar las cosas, pero en este momento todavía las proyecciones indican que el impacto sería fuera del condado Harris, hacia el área de Louisiana, y tenemos que seguir observando. Obviamente estas tormentas pueden ser impredecibles, pero se ve bastante bien el pronóstico. En cuanto a cualquier desastre, bien sea el coronavirus, huracanes, tormentas tropicales, cualquier otra cosa, quiero que los residentes sepan que nuestra primera prioridad es siempre enfocarnos en la preparación y en la acción. Queremos esperar lo mejor, pero siempre planear en mente para la peor posible situación. Sabemos que los desastres no nos van a dar la opción de tomarse un receso este año simplemente por el virus o por las otras tragedias. Entonces, seguimos manteniendo ese contacto con nuestros socios a nivel estatal, a nivel federal, para hacer preparaciones durante esta temporada de huracanes. Hemos trabajado en modificar los planes para que tengan efecto y sean apropiados para la hora del coronavirus. Por ejemplo, estamos trabajando con la Cruz Roja en planes de albergue durante el coronavirus, por si fuera necesario ofrecer albergue a las personas, como lo haríamos con distanciamiento social y todas esas consideraciones. También hemos trabajado con las agencias federales para desarrollar un nuevo sistema de alertas móviles a los celulares. Ahora podemos llevar esas alertas, llegarán también en español y las hemos diseñado ahora para que sean mucho más exactas en cuanto a qué área recibe cuál alerta. Pueden ser más largas también. Estamos trabajando en practicar los planes que hemos diseñado y los proyectos de control de inundaciones siguen a toda. Estamos trabajando lo más rápidamente posible. Todos los días, aún durante el virus, siguen adelante esos planes y esos proyectos. Y el año pasado también modificamos los estándares de desarrollo en el condado Harris, los más agresivos bajo la ley, para que ya no se construyan edificios que van a inundar a las personas río abajo. Entonces, eso es lo que estamos haciendo todos nosotros. Pero, ¿qué va a hacer usted por su comunidad y por su familia? Esta es la primera tormenta ya con nombre que ha llegado al Golfo este año y necesitamos todos estar alertas. Este es un recordatorio que ya estamos en la temporada de huracanes. Entonces, ahora mismo es el momento de planear. Estamos haciendo nosotros nuestra parte, poniendo nuestra parte para prepararnos y necesitamos que también usted ponga de su parte. Eso es lo que puede hacer. Primero, revisar su seguro, su póliza de seguro. El seguro contra las inundaciones es la única manera de protegerse contra una inundación. Por si se inunda su hogar, que pueda recibir la restitución que merece, que necesita para recuperarse. Entonces, intente confirmar que su póliza de seguro también lo cubre de las inundaciones. Si puede, si tiene la habilidad de en este momento obtener ese seguro contra inundaciones, hágalo. Recuerde que toma 30 días en que la póliza sea vigente. Entonces, no le funcionará ahorita para Cristobal, pero sí para el resto de la temporada de huracanes, que dura hasta finales de noviembre. Segundo es tener un kit, siempre mantener provisiones, comida, medicina, lo que necesite para sus mascotas también, por si tuviera que permanecer en casa 7, 10 días o si tuviera que evacuar. Y finalmente, haga un plan de evacuación. Si tuviera que evacuar, ¿a dónde iría y cómo llegaría? Tenemos que tener eso siempre en mente. Hay más información, como siempre, en readyharris.org. Con eso concluyo, ahora recibiremos preguntas. Do folks have any questions?
Yeah, I'm going to do for several stations. I think you already responded to some of the answer to these questions, but I'm going to make the questions again. From KHOU, if people from Louisiana have to evacuate to Texas because of flooding, are there any preparations being made for the possibility, and what resources are available here to help?
Yes, so the question was about possible evacuations from Louisiana, and we are in touch, of course, with the state and regionally and thinking about contingencies. So mostly we're in communication with the Red Cross about preparations for possible sheltering, and they are working to follow CDC guidelines to update their parameters to make sure that whatever shelter options we have, that they can be conducted with enough social distancing. We've pre-identified areas for shelter. We hope we won't need them, but we do have to pre-identify. We're in touch also with our partners in Dallas. If we had to evacuate, that's where we would go. And so that's always an ongoing conversation, and those are the precautions we're taking.
Okay, another question from KTRK. There's been an increase in COVID-19 hospitalizations with the reopening expanding this week. What concerns do you have, and what measures does the county plan to take to ensure there's enough bed space?
I have the concern I've had all along, and it's that these increased contacts lead to increased transmissions, and they're happening in a way that is not contained. And so we need to keep watching those numbers in our hospitals, keep seeing if they're going to go up. If folks do not take personal responsibility to stay home, to avoid crowds, to avoid close contact, avoid the club, the bar, the in-person graduation, odds are we're going to continue to see those admissions increase. And the problem is that leads us to having to shut things down again, because that would be the only way to be able to control a run on our hospital systems. And so that's why I've always, and I continue to ask, that we reopen sustainably, that we not bounce back and forth between open and crisis. And that's why I still ask, that folks take that personal responsibility, that folks remember that we're not any safer than we were in March. And this may just be the year in which you really shouldn't be going to the club. You shouldn't be going to large gatherings. In terms of preparations, we have continually worked to stay ahead of the virus, and we continue to prepare. We are as prepared as we can be. I was on the phone yesterday with leaders of the hospital system. They're watching their buffer. They have their surge capacity. We are prepared to activate a medical shelter of last resort inside NRG now that the air is clean. We have continued to deploy contact tracers who are working in full force to provide shelter and quarantine space for folks experiencing homelessness who need to isolate, for first responders who need to isolate, to work with nursing homes and other group facilities to try and curb the spread there. So we've always been on high alert because we're always right on the verge of an outbreak. But there comes a point where we need the community's support. That is all along throughout this crisis, and so I continue to ask that folks remember that we never contained the virus, and so we are always risking an outbreak, and we are already seeing some alert bells go off, so folks need to be very, very mindful of their interactions.
Okay, now from KPRC, there are several questions. This is the two questions in one. I'm going to read them. What are your thoughts on the number of deaths at the Oakmont Nursing Home in Humboldt, 14 since April, and how is the county responding to the deaths of 14 nursing home residents in Humboldt?
We're incredibly concerned about the reports in this nursing home facility in Humble. From the beginning, we've said that nursing homes are unfortunately a path of least resistance for too many for the spread of the virus. And so we've continued to visit all the nursing homes in this county and other facilities where folks are in close group settings. Some of them are turning us down. They're not letting us go in there to do the test. Even those that are not, we're going in there to offer advice, to say, you know, this is how the practices you should be adopting. With this facility in particular, we are extremely concerned, and so we have issued a control order, ordering them that they follow the public health recommendations, which they are not following them, and we are ready to enforce that order. So that's been in place. Our community public health leads are fully engaged, and we're going to continue watching. But, you know, we need these facilities to cooperate, that as we're making our way through them, we offer testing. They need to let us come in, and not just the nursing homes, but all the other facilities where folks congregate, because that's very much ripe for the spread of the virus.
Okay, two more questions, different topic, same for KPRC. What do you think about the county commissioner, I'm guessing Garcia doesn't say it, getting into the Houston police chief about transparency, specifically an unreleased audit from the incident in Harding Street raid, and also a question related to that, what are your concerns about transparency from the state's largest police department?
Yeah, you know, we've all been watching these protests unfold, and they're because of very real grievances. And it's so important to be out there and express support for the protest that's necessary and that's important, is to lift up those voices, those concerns. That said, it's on us in elected office to also lead to that change. And so that's why, since we got here, I've been focused on implementing bail reform so people aren't in jail just because they're poor, on changing the way lawyers are appointed so that judges don't just appoint the lawyers that will force plea deals quickly or that give the most money to their campaign, but folks are appointed lawyers in an unbiased way, to almost double the size of our public defender's office, and to do currently a thorough look at all of the budgeting within our criminal justice system that has been ongoing, to look very, very closely, instead of just giving more funds for officers, giving more funds for prosecutors, how exactly is that going to help break the cycle of a broken criminal justice system? So that's what we're doing. And I think that every single level of government needs to also step up with concrete changes. And I hope that we're all going to continue to do that. We're going to have some great discussions on Commissioner's Court about what else we could do at the county. And I hear that there's some conversations at the city as well.
Okay, got more questions from Fox 26. I think you already answered to some of these questions, but I'm going to read them just in case you want to elaborate on any of the answers. What are you seeing on Harris County hospitals? Are you concerned about capacity as things reopen and in light of recent protests? How are the numbers looking and projections for COVID-19 in Harris County? And the last one, some people seem to be acting like the COVID-19 pandemic is over. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, so let me dig in a little bit more as to what we're seeing in our hospitalization numbers, is that both the 14-day and the 7-day and the 5-day increases, all of them show an increase that is statistically significant. And if you compare, you know, what the increase was 14 days ago and 7 days ago and 5 days ago, you can see that those increases are getting faster. And so the curve is not linear, it's actually getting faster, which is concerning. We see that increasing rate. We're also seeing a similar trend in our ICU population. And so the reason this is concerning is because an increase in hospital admissions also tells us that another increase in ICU is going to be coming up. If it would take probably around 2 weeks for the ICU capacity to reach capacity before surge if we continue going in this trend. And so it's not the time to say red alert, but it is the time to watch and see there's something concerning here. In terms of what else we're seeing, I do ask that folks focus on the hospital admissions. That's the best data we have. The case count numbers go up and down, and it's a good data point, but I think that these admissions numbers are very clear, and they really don't lie in terms of we're seeing that trend. Folks have asked about the impact of the recent protests, and we'll be watching to see, of course, close contact is likely that that's going to lead to impacts, but I do want to say that people have been having close contacts. Every time I see reports about an in-person graduation, about 200 people in a club, even folks, packed together at church, the virus doesn't give you a pass because you're at church or because you're at a graduation. And so we all have to avoid those contacts. And we've already seen the impact of the contacts that have happened well before these folks went outside to try and express their concerns. In terms of some folks pretending like the virus has passed, that's the big concern, is we all wish this was over. I wish, we were done talking about this, and we're so tired, but we have to be persistent, and we have to continue fighting, because if we don't, we're going to lead to an overwhelming of our healthcare system, and the only solution to that is to have to shut things back down, and that's another hit to our economy. And so if we want to reopen sustainably, we're working on our tracing, we're visiting the nursing homes, we're working on homeless folks who need isolation, but the community needs to do their part too. And so I ask each and every member of this community to take personal responsibility for their health, for the health of their community, and avoid close contacts, wear face coverings, and realize that already we're beginning to see an impact in our healthcare system that could grow and could become concerning.
Ahora en español para Telemundo, ya había respondido, pero voy a leer las preguntas. Dice, a pesar de que la tormenta no va a tocar el área de Houston, ¿cómo se debe preparar la comunidad durante la temporada de huracanes? Y la otra pregunta es, ya que estamos en una pandemia, ¿qué dificultades habrá para el condado en caso de que llegue un huracán a nuestra región?
La temporada de huracanes está aquí, estará con nosotros hasta finales de noviembre. Entonces es el momento de prepararse. Primero, revisar su póliza de seguro contra inundaciones. Si le es posible obtenerla, sé que son momentos financieros, desde el punto de vista financiero, difíciles, pero intentar conseguir ese seguro contra las inundaciones, porque esa es la manera de protegerse si su hogar se fuera a inundar. Más importante, esas pólizas tardan 30 días en tomar efecto, entonces es importante desde ahora asegurarse que su seguro cubra las inundaciones, y si no tiene ese seguro, ir de una vez e intentar conseguirlo. Segundo, es tener un kit de preparación por si hubiera que evacuar, tener las medicinas, lo que necesiten sus mascotas, comida, lo de los niños, y finalmente tener un plan de evacuación por si fuera necesario evacuar, a dónde irían y cómo llegarían. Toda esa información, tenemos también información que debe contener el kit, dónde obtener el seguro contra inundaciones, todo eso está en readyharris.org. En cuanto a las preparaciones que está llevando a cabo el condado, estamos en una buena posición porque ya estamos coordinando con nuestros socios a varios niveles de gobierno, organizaciones sin ánimo de lucro, por el tema del coronavirus. Entonces ya estamos en muy cercana comunicación, y ahora simplemente es modificar un poco la atención a esta temporada de huracanes. Estamos haciendo ejercicios consistentemente, planeando alternativas en cuanto a cómo se podría albergar a la gente si hubiera una inundación, un impacto masivo, también identificando materiales de protección personal para aquellas personas que irían a ayudar a reparar los hogares, por ejemplo. Todas esas son medidas que estamos tomando.
Serían las preguntas nada más.
Ok, gracias. Thank you.